Hi, I got some free time, so I thought I'll talk about another economic concept to help you guys out, and this time it's about elasticity. So, when I say an elastic, what's the first thing that comes to the top of your mind? I'm giving you some time for you to think. So, probably when we think about an elastic, probably a rubber band comes to the top of your mind. I hope you're not thinking something else now. So, here is what it is. If you take two different elastic bands, they will have two limits in terms of stretching, right? One might stretch a little bit more than the other. So, when we talk about elasticity, what we need to keep in mind is that there are always two things, okay? When one variable changes, other variable responds, okay? So, if I were to give you an example, if the price of a certain product goes up, for an example, if you watch movies at MC Cinema, you will agree with me that at 500 rupees, there will be much more demand than if the ticket price goes up to 1000 rupees, right? Because the price is lesser than the demand is more. So what happens is, now just imagine hypothetically, okay, we will take the MC Cinema as an example, and also we will take price of petrol. Now the liter of petrol is 117 rupees, okay? So just imagine that the price of petrol goes from 117 rupees to 234. I believe that's a 100% increase, right? The MC Cinema, the ticket prices goes from 500 rupees to 1000 rupees. Okay, that is also a 100% increase. But if you look at the demand, naturally the demand has to come down to a certain degree, but the percentage change in demand in these two products are going to be very different. Now, you will agree with me when I say that if you don't go to MC Cinema, there are so many other cinema halls that we can go to, right? You can go to Savoy, you can go to Liberty. For that matter, rather than watching a movie, there are so many other things that we can do for our entertainment. Okay? But if you own a petrol car, the problem is you need petrol irrespective of what the price of petrol is going to be. So, you can't go to the station and ask, hey, here I need to ask you something, can we pump something else and see whether the car goes? Please don't try that, your car might not survive. So the point that I'm trying to make is this. The point that I'm trying to make is, when the price of the product goes up, the law of demand says the demand should come down, right? But the real question is by how much? Now, when we look at the price and the quantity demanded, we call it the price elasticity of demand. Okay, so price goes up, demand comes down, and that measurement that we do, we call it the price elasticity of demand. Okay, so in this, if I were to go a little deeper, this is what is going to be. If there is a 1% increase in price, brings down the demand by less than 1%. I'll say that again. 1% increase in price brings down the demand by less than 1%. We call it an inelastic demand. If the price of the product goes up by 1%, if the demand comes down by more than 1%, we call it an elastic demand. Okay, so you got me, right? So if the price of the product goes up by 1% and if the demand comes down by more than 1%, which means it's an elastic demand. If the price of the product goes up by 1% and if the demand comes down by less than 1%, we call it an inelastic demand. So let's take an example for a minute. Okay, so if I own a petrol car, price of petrol goes up by 100%. Okay, and the demand comes down by less than 100%, because you know what? I might try to save some petrol by not putting the air conditioner, try to take shortcuts, right? Probably, I will go and tell my loved ones, listen, price of petrol is so much that, let's cut down the amount of traveling that we do. So probably, everybody will do that. So if price of petrol goes up from 170 to 234, and if there was a demand of 1000 liters at the price of 117, probably the demand may come down to 800. Okay, because people try to cut down. But here's the thing, if it is a cinema ticket, okay, let's say for an example MC Cinema or some other cinema hall, if they increase their prices from 500 to 1000, there are so many other options that the other people will have. Remember, in economics we always make this assumption holding everything else constant. Okay, so remember that others didn't do anything with their prices. So what are you going to do? You might not end up going to MC Cinema. Some people might do, but a lot may consider taking alternatives. So such products have what is called an elastic demand. Okay, so in very, very simple terms, that is what is called price elasticity of demand. So if I were to summarize it, it goes something like this. When the price goes up, the demand comes down, the law of demand. So as far as you're concerned, there are two different products. There are two levels of responsiveness to these two products. Okay, one is called elastic, other one is called inelastic. So what does this elasticity try to measure? When the price changes, how much does the demand change? Okay, now keep in mind that's only price elasticity of demand. That's all I got time for you, but in future videos I will try to explain the income elasticity of demand, cross price elasticity of demand, and the price elasticity of supply. Alright, thank you very much. Have a good day.